This week, sunny San Diego, California, plus some severe weather tips and more. This is RV Miles.
This spring, LL Bean wants to help you feel great out there with gear, tips, and advice for heading outdoors and exploring all the possibilities of the season. Here's one of our favorite camping hacks. You can make your own fire starters by rubbing cotton balls in petroleum jelly, then storing them in an old medication bottle or a mint tin. These compact starters fit in a pocket and light up quickly for easy campfires on cool nights. For more fun ideas, easy how-tos, and inspiring stories, visit llbean.com/guide.
Welcome to episode number 272 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby, and we are two full-time travelers who, along with our three boys, Jack, Ethan, and Henry, have been crisscrossing North America on one epic road trip since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from industry news to travel destinations, our life on the road, and so much more.
People always wonder where our kids are when we're recording. They're all within 5 feet of the camera right now.
There's one right over there to the right of the camera, and there's two in their bunks back there. We are recording today, for those of you who are listening, we are recording today inside the rig. Jason and I are sitting at the foot of the bed, and as this is a one-room, 25-foot travel trailer, the kids are also a part of this episode today because they are being so cool and hanging out in their beds and enjoying some...
That just means they're on their devices listening to stuff.
You know, if you hadn't interrupted me, I would have...
Yeah. People are always like, oh, they're so good when you're... Yeah, they're on electronics.
They're enjoying some YouTube time, and that's absolutely fine, because later today we are going to shuffle off to Muir Woods National Monument and do a little hiking, because we are still in the San Francisco area, and I am back. You held the fort down last week. You did a solo show.
Yes, thankfully, because as I mentioned on the live stream we did last night for Mile Marker members, we do our monthly live stream for our supporters every first Monday of the month, and we had a great time last night.
Oh my gosh,
folks.
So much fun. But drinks, laughter, it was great.
As I mentioned to folks there, we were talking about Abby being gone, and if you don't know, all of the sort of news videos and stuff, any videos that I do solo, I am entirely reading from a teleprompter. I've scripted that whole thing out, and I rehearse it, and I'm talking from a teleprompter. And when we do this podcast, I can talk off the cuff because I have Abby next to me. Without somebody there to talk to, it's very hard to just talk, to just like a empty camera lens.
As my on-camera teacher told all of us, it's the camera that is who you're talking to. Inside the lens are millions of people.
But it doesn't give you any support, doesn't give you any feedback.
Oh, I don't know. I'm getting a lot of support right now from the camera. A lot of support.
But even if it was just a microphone, I would just have I did have a hard time with that last week. Thank you for muddling through it with me. It took a lot of editing. But we are enjoying the fact that the weather has sort of opened up here a little bit in San Francisco. We've had some wonderful days here. We'll tell you all about them on a future episode of the podcast. But we know a lot of you are experiencing some severe weather throughout the Midwest and the South. My hometown just got hit with apparently possibly a tornado, but lots of stuff blown over and lots of power outages right now.
Strong enough to blow over a semi
in
a Lowe's parking lot. So already this morning we were texting his parents and checking in on them to make sure that they were okay. There is a lot of damaging winds in the Quad Cities right now, heavy rain that seems to be, as we are recording this on Tuesday, April 4th, that does seem to be the trend for today and the next couple of days. And so even last night, talking with some mile marker members during the live, they just went through an EF3 last week, and now they have another one potentially coming today, tomorrow. So there are a lot of people experiencing some really, really dangerous winds, rains, tornadoes right now. We know a couple other people, full-time RVers, who were in Tennessee, who had all of the awnings, their slide covers, completely ripped off by the wind. Thankfully, they were not home when that happened, but that's how strong some of these winds are right now. That's how damaging some of these winds are. And so I know that it is a topic we've talked a lot about, just kind of in passing, and we've had a few reels and discussions in the RV Miles Facebook group, but it's a question we get asked a lot. And given that this is the season for really severe weather, we thought we should just take a couple minutes and go over some things you can do as an RVer if you find yourself in a dangerous situation.
Well, one of the questions that came up on the live stream was what kind of wind speeds can your standard travel trailer handle? And that's it really dependent on the trailer, the location, the direction you're pointed, the direction the wind's coming from, lots of things. But there are a few things that you can do to prepare for an incident that's going to involve high winds. You can fill your water tanks. That's going to add some ballast into your RV, and that includes maybe even filling your black and gray tank. But it's probably best to just fill your freshwater tank anyway, because when power goes out in some places, the water, it needs power, right? There's pumps that pump up to the water towers, stuff like that. So you might not have access to water after a few days if the power goes out. We've been in that situation before, certainly. So it's always best to have a full tank of water, even if you're in like a full hookup campground. Best to have all your batteries topped off, all that sort of stuff. If you do have the ability to move your RV at all, it's best to point it in the direction of the wind. The wind can sort of work its way around it instead of broadsiding it. You can always consider going somewhere else. Sometimes that's a challenge because the storm can move and you might be moving towards where it ends up. But you can find a safer spot, perhaps. You can make sure that you're not parked under any tree limbs that look dangerous, that might be dead. That's the first stuff that's going to fall down in heavy winds, or God forbid, a full tree that looks kind of sketchy and dead. You want to be as far away from something like that as possible. We've seen some big tree falls, and that's not something you want to land on an RV.
If you have done all of those things and you are still finding yourself in a severe situation, there is no shame in the game of going to a hotel. I know it can be really hard and upsetting to leave your rig there and not know what's going to happen, but I can tell you it will be 100 times more upsetting to be in the rig if something does happen. So if you feel like you need to go to a hotel, go to that hotel. We have done that a few times on our travels, especially when we have found ourselves in the south during the spring. Those storms are no joke.
Yeah, and the first thing that you can do when you see that a storm is coming to your area that may be tornadic, that may be really dangerous, is start packing a go bag. Any backpack will do, whatever you have. The most important stuff you have with you, your medications, your identification, important keepsakes like wedding rings and stuff like that, throw them in a bag, keep it by your door so that it's ready to go with you if you do need to evacuate fairly quickly.
And we actually keep a smaller bag here in our rig that is filled with really important documents and things that we wouldn't normally access on a day-to-day basis, but things that if we needed to run and go really fast, I could grab those things, that one bag, and we're out the door. Everything else can just good luck. But if there are things that I know we absolutely will need, I have those ready to go for us so we can be out the door in an instant. And then finally, I just want to say too that Make sure that you try as best as you can to keep up with what's happening in the local weather area as you're traveling around, because even if there is nothing predicted, these storms can pop up really fast out of nowhere. I remember that last year when we were in North Carolina, we were at a campground. It was a beautiful day outside. It had seemed like this storm was going to pass very far to us. It wasn't going to come where we were. And then all of a sudden, in an instant, it shifted. And within that shift, all of the sudden, sirens started going off. And it happened so fast to the point that there were people coming out of their rigs and just standing around going, well, what do we do? I've never been somewhere before where sirens were going off. And, of course, it's if the sirens do go off, and you can safely get out of the rig and get to a bathhouse, get to a structured building and get away from windows.
If you're in an area where tornadoes happen, the campground should be able to tell you, should have it on their information sheet or whatever, but they should be able to tell you what is the shelter building. You want to know where that is so that you can go there. And we like Abby was just talking about, it can happen without any warning from the weather service or the news or anybody. So knowing where to go in a situation like that quickly is really crucial.
And, a lot of places are still getting a ton of snow as well. So it's really important, even in that component, that you continue to be aware of road conditions if snow is predicted in your area and you are traveling with your RV. Also, be really careful about making sure that your tanks and your lines don't freeze up, because winter's not over for a section of this country still. I cannot believe some of the snowfall that people are still getting, but it is happening. So if you find yourself in extreme conditions, just really do your best to stay safe, keep your rig safe, and if you need to abandon it, that's okay.
Hopefully it goes without saying that it's safer in inclement weather for your RV to be stationary.
Yes.
Don't get on the road and try to outrun something. Don't drive in conditions that you think
this is not Twister.
Okay. If the winds are high, you want to be off the road. If there's ice and heavy rains and snow, be off the road.
Because, and then we're going to move on from this, but I want to say too, if you think that winds are only dangerous to small rigs, just know that that's not true. I actually saw in our Sabre 37 FLL Facebook group an unfortunate picture of a Sabre on its side because of wind. Yeah. So if it can happen to a 15,000-pound fifth wheel, just keep that in mind, not to be scaring anyone or put fear into you. But again, just be aware, know what's happening, and try to do your very best to make the safest decision for you and those you are traveling with.
Something along these lines that we want to move on to is a question that came up off of last week's episode when we were talking about bad advice people had received, and one was to not get gap insurance. So I was talking briefly about gap insurance, and a question came up after the fact. Somebody was wondering where to find it because they contacted their insurance company and couldn't find it. So I wanted to point out that it is not always called gap insurance. So for instance, we use Progressive, and Progressive calls it loan lease payoff coverage, loan/lease, loan or lease payoff coverage. And basically it's paying what's left on your loan, even if the value of the vehicle is less than what the loan is worth. The reason they call it this loan lease payoff thing is it's a little different than gap insurance, because gap insurance pays up to the total. The loan lease payoff with Progressive only pays up to a maximum of 25% more than you owe on the vehicle. So regardless, this is the type of situation that is good for. If you made a low down payment on an RV, you have lots of payments ahead of you, you are, for all intents and purposes, underwater on it. So say you bought a new RV 6 months ago, you had a tree fall on it in one of these storms, and the insurance values it at $10,000 less than your loan is for, that puts you on the hook for $10,000. So that gap insurance is going to cover that, and it's usually fairly affordable. It's going to depend on your loan and the value of your RV, how much it's going to be, but it is often like less than $10 a month.
And if you're watching this episode or listening to this episode today and we talk about something that you would like to know a little bit more about, please feel free to leave that comment in the YouTube video over on the RV Miles Podcast YouTube channel, or you are welcome to ask that question in the RV Miles Facebook group, or if you're a Mile Marker member, please ask it over in the Mile Marker member Facebook group. And if we can get to it and answer it on next week's episode, we will, or we will also just try to respond to you privately. All right. Let's take a break.
Let's take a break, and we'll come back and we're going to talk about San Diego.
San Diego. We will be back in just a moment.
Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around, you'll find them on highways and campgrounds and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. Award-winning tow bars, base plates, and brakes, a full line of weight distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and a new line of fifth wheel hitches. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. To learn more about how Blue Ox can make your travel adventures even more stress-free, visit blueox.com.
This episode is supported by ParkWolf, the ultimate app for visiting U.S. national parks. With ParkWolf, you can view upcoming places and amenities as you drive through the park, locate the nearest gas, food, bathrooms, and pullover points. ParkWolf's wildlife maps show you the best times and places to see or avoid wildlife, along with a feed of the latest wildlife sighting photos from the parks. ParkWolf even makes it possible for you to view your live location and direction on official park maps while staying up to date on current NPS alerts and advisories. ParkWolf keeps working even if you lose service. To learn more, download the ParkWolf app for iPhone free from the Apple App Store today.
We're back, and it's time to talk about San Diego. We visited San Diego immediately after returning into the United States from Baja.
Yes. And Jason, do you want a little bit of trivia about San Diego?
Sure.
Do you know what San Diego stands for?
Yes, Saint Diego.
You sure about that? Because
Yes.
Ron Burgundy says it stands
Okay.
for something else.
Okay.
But this is a family show, so we'll just leave it at that. So we headed to San Diego, and we headed to probably the bougiest RV park we've
boy,
ever been to. Can we
this
even
place-
call it a park?
This
RV
place is so nice.
resort.
Obviously expensive, but we stayed at the Sun Outdoors in San Diego.
I think this is the first time where I feel like the word resort has been used appropriately for where we were staying.
Well, just on a comparison, so where we're staying now in San Francisco,
Yes.
this site is the tiniest site we've probably ever been into. We can
Okay.
reach out and touch Jamie and Clay's
Yes,
rig.
I can see them right now. They're cooking lunch.
We're even
Like,
closer to the folks on the other side of us because
Yes.
we've got our slide.
They love us.
There is no room for anything here. There's the tiniest pool, and we're next to a big city, and we've got great access to a big city, and that's
Bike
great.
trails. That's all great.
But Sun Outdoors in San Diego had the same access to a big city,
Mm-hmm.
and it even better probably actually, and it had decent sized sites. It had
So nice.
probably the best RV resort pool with 2 big hot tubs. It had a great fitness center with a yoga studio in it. It had a great game room for the kids. It had a poker room that I sat in and did a lot of work in.
No poker happened though while you were there.
It had like this big outdoor sort of balcony area with fire pits that you could view the sunsets with, because it was basically on marshland overlooking the Pacific Ocean with no obstructions. It had good laundry, great bath houses. It had a restaurant and bar on site.
Happy hour was awesome.
Some great paved level sites. Each site had like patio furniture and a fire pit.
And lots going on too. Like a lot of activities, a lot of family focused activities, but also a lot of activities for adults. So there was always something going on. It was, for what we paid for it, absolutely worth it to us. Now, we did score like 30% off the entire reservation because they were running a special. So if you go and you look and you're like, whoa, that is really expensive. They do, I think, keep an eye out during off-peak season, camping season, because you might be able to get 30% off, which still made it about $100 a night.
I didn't finish. My whole point there was the fact that these two parks cost about the same. So this one in San Francisco and that one in San Diego cost almost the exact same.
Yeah.
And
it's
the experience is so incredibly different.
This campground, we can't get out of fast enough every single day. That one, we didn't want to leave, which is why as we talk to you about San Diego, you're going to hear that we did like nothing. And I think part of that too. We did a few things, but I think part of that is also because we had just come out of Baja and we really needed to just sit down and sort of just
we
chill.
needed to decompress. We needed to do a few maintenance things on the RV after being in Baja. We needed to just deal with like restocking some sort of like the essential grocery things that last you a month at a time. Mm-hmm. We were out of all that kind of stuff. We just had a lot of that sort of stuff to do. But yeah, we also wanted to just sit somewhere and relax.
We wanted to sit by the pool and we wanted to sit in the hot tub and we wanted to enjoy happy hour. And so this is one of those campgrounds where it felt really good to just stay there and enjoy that campground. It was so nice to be able to go into the yoga studio and do yoga in there. They had a really nice gym as well that you were able to take advantage of, but to go and have that quiet and be able to do that just right next to the campsite. They have cabins, which makes it really accessible. If you're an RVer but have family and friends who aren't, they could also join you here in San Diego and you have this beautiful resort that you're at together. And then you have the ability to bounce out and check out this super cool town, which is actually the second time that we had been in it in a couple of months, because this is where we launched from when we went on the Disney cruise back in January. This time we did one kind of really big thing, kind of the thing that I was very keen on wanting to do because I had actually been to the San Diego Zoo many, many, many years ago. Too many years for me to want to talk about it. But let's just say that I drove from Kansas City with my brother, my boyfriend at the time, and two other dudes, and we all drove down to San Diego to see Blink-182 and Weezer play a New Year's Eve concert. And I think we stayed for a total of like 3 days because we were broke as a joke.
That is a long way to drive for 3 days.
It's a very long way to drive in a giant conversion van, which takes up it was a gas guzzler.
I was going to say, it might have been cheaper for you to fly.
I know, right? We didn't stop. Everyone took turns. It was like my brother and my boyfriend and then a couple of my brother's best of best friends. And it was just this crazy thing you do when you're like 18, 19, 20 years old. But we did find time also to go to the San Diego Zoo, which seems so strange that we came down for a concert. But at the same time, we're like, we need to go to the zoo.
It is as good as everyone says. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. But I was surprised by a lot of it. We've been to a lot of zoos. The main thing I was surprised with is the amount of stuff that was included. Because it's fairly expensive to get in. But when you go to other zoos, they sort of nickel and dime you with additional tours. And if you want to
do you want to ride the tram? Do you want to ride the carousel? Do you want to ride the train around the park?
It's all included at the San Diego Zoo. You can ride the gondola, get on the tram that does a full tour of the zoo, and there's somebody that tells you everything, and you sort of get to see the backside of pens and stuff like that. It's really just all there. It's still,
it's very expensive still.
It's an expensive zoo. The food and beverage situation is super expensive. That's something that we would definitely recommend that you
bring a lunch,
bring on your own,
bring a lunch
for
sure, and lots of snacks. But we looked at this as a road schooling opportunity for the kids. So, of course, as we continue from Baja to Alaska, we're always looking for ways that we can take the kids on adventures and into cities in order to experience something unique to that place. So, yeah, San Diego was a bit of a cost, but I think what we all got out of it as a family, and in fact, Jack, this is to me sometimes the greatest thing about road schooling is that we arrived in enough time for Jack to sit down over in one of the cafeteria areas and actually take an out school class. He had a class that day. He was able to take it there at the zoo, and we kind of just milled around in some areas close to him. He met up with us after he was done. And we continued on with our day. And that's one of the things I love so much about how road schooling can happen as we're doing this particular adventure. It's an all-day thing.
Yeah, definitely plan for a full day.
Get your money's worth. We were there until closing. And of course, we did not escape out of there without a sticker for the cooler and a stuffy for the kids' collection.
And Henry got a panda bear hat.
That panda bear hat was very, very cute. I left you alone for 5 seconds with him.
He put it on
I couldn't
at
believe
the store, and I was like, well, I guess I'm buying that because that was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
so.
he knew what he was doing. He knew who to bring that hat to, because I would have been like, no, hard pass. You've got like 2 hats at home. I turn around, I come back, and you're just like, you just have like little hearts like floating out of your eyes, and you're like, oh my gosh, look how cute he is. And I was just like, yeah, you got your dad good on this one, buddy. He's a sucker for a panda hat. So, San Diego Zoo. Did we do anything else besides hang out at the RV resort because we were so content there?
We did have a good dinner at Stone Brewery.
Oh, that's right. We did go over and we did find a brewery, and that was actually really cool.
Kind of a weird thing. It's in a former sort of military base. It's sort of like, nice, full sit-down restaurant, except you order off of an app, and you don't have a server, but then you have lots of servers that bring you stuff. Very strange in that situation to me, I think.
I think I kind of love these now because I feel differently than you do. So, we were with Jamie and Clay and their kids, and so they were able to put in their order. We weren't quite ready yet, so they were able to put in their order. We did have a server that took our drink order, though. And this is one of the things I like about Stone is that they offer a gluten-reduced beer tasting. And so I was able to try, I think there were 4 total in the flight of gluten-reduced beers, which was really cool. That is a continued struggle as I travel around. I mean, that's first world problems, but it was fun to be able to kind of have a beer flight and still be able to have something gluten-free or gluten-reduced. But I liked the fact that they were able to put in their order, then we put in ours. But what I like about this mobile ordering thing now is halfway through the meal, what Jack had gotten, it wasn't enough. And he was still really hungry. And he was like, can I just get a basket of fries? Well, then rather than having to find our server and flag them down, and, I was able to just open up the app, boop, 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 order fries. And a couple minutes later, basket of fries right there. It's just, I like the ease and convenience of it, and I don't have to feel like someone comes. I'm just like, are you guys ready to take it? Can I take it? And you're like, because you know how I am. I'm like, I've got 4 things I'm trying to choose from, and then I make the decision and always pick the wrong thing.
But this was sort of a wonderful outdoor dining experience, a really extensive patio. The indoor spaces were all really cool as well. But there's, fire bowls out there. There are lots and lots of heat lamps, so it was fairly chilly, but we were able to stay pretty warm. There's a pond with koi fish and ducks in it and stuff like that. And I'm not really a beer person.
I know.
So we
can't all be perfect.
I had a pineapple habanero margarita, and that was so good.
I love when you go to breweries and you're like, I'll take a cocktail.
Yeah.
Do you have any cider on tap? Hey, babe, you do you. It's fantastic. I love that you have the confidence to be like, go ahead and bring me that pineapple habanero margarita.
One more
get
thing
these guys their flights.
I want to mention about this Sun Outdoors San Diego that I just remembered is that, which one of the cool things that we like about this campground that we're at as well, is that it is right next to public transportation. So if you're somebody in like a big motorhome and you don't pull a towed vehicle behind you, or you have a big dually pulling a fifth wheel and you don't want to drive that through a big city, you want to take your bikes on the train, whatever, the train station is literally right outside the Sun Outdoors Resort.
Yeah, it's a really nice feature. It was a really nice campground. It's not something we do on the regular, so it was enjoyable to come in and have that kind of... It's so basic. We came back into the States and then went to the most expensive campground we've ever been to.
After a month of mostly boondocking, we just sort of needed to splurge.
The individual bathhouses at Sun Outdoors, which are just like your own space. Longest hot water shower of my life.
Yeah.
It was so great.
Yeah.
So that is our...
Okay, can I go? No, I'm going to put it in my black tank. I'll tell you, there's something about that's going to be my black tank.
Oh, I don't know this.
Yes.
Okay, I'm excited to get there. So that was our really very quiet and limited experience in San Diego. We know that there is so much more to see and do there, so we are excited to return in the future. But we would love to know what you think about San Diego, if you have been, and what was something that you would recommend we should do the next time. So you can leave that in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, or head over to the RV Miles Facebook group, where we are going to start this new thing where we start a discussion about the current podcast episode. And you can find that pinned, and you can join us there in the group and talk about it.
All right, we'll be back in a moment to check the level of our tanks.
Be right back.
RV Miles is sponsored by the Road Pass Pro suite of travel apps for RVers. We love using all the apps in the Road Pass suite to plan our travels. Togo RV, Road Trippers, OvernightRVParking.com, and Campendium. You get premium access to all of them for $49.99 a year. Find the best campgrounds, the best boondocking sites, the best roadside attractions, and the best routes to get to them all in your RV, tailored for its length and height to get you there safely. Use the code RVMiles10X to get $10 off your Road Pass Pro membership at roadpass.com. That's RVMiles10X for $10 off at roadpass.com.
All right, we are back, and it is time to check the level of our tanks. But before we check the level of those tanks, we have a really fun new sponsor of this segment. It is our friend Matt Foxcroft over at Matt's RV Reviews. Their liquefied RV tank treatment is now the official sponsor of the Fresh Tank, Black Tank segment. I cannot...
How appropriate. If you haven't checked it out, though, they've been a sponsor on a few episodes of the podcast recently, but Matt did a video of how he decided to make this tank treatment, because he sort of had the suspicion that there are all these different RV tank treatments out there, and are we sort of being hosed by them? Like, what do they actually do other than make a pretty smell, right? So he tested like 15 of them or something like that. You can go to his channel and watch how he tested them. And then he went to a chemical manufacturer and worked with them to develop something that was better and that actually breaks down what is in your tank quickly instead of just making it smell better. So liquefied, it's a really interesting product. We haven't checked it out yet. I'm excited to check it out for ourselves as well.
Yeah, we're going to be getting some here soon. I'm sure Bexy will appreciate it. But it's just really fun. This was Matt's idea to be the sponsor of this segment. We're excited to have them on board with us. And we will put a link to the product, which you can find on Amazon. We will put that in the description for the show notes, and also in the audio description as well. But it is time to move on, because Jason, what is in your black tank this week?
Okay, so you mentioned the shower houses at the Sun Outdoors Resort. So Jack and I were having this conversation exactly this there. So they're individual shower rooms. You access them from outdoors, right? And They're gorgeous. They're well tiled. There's, wonderful water pressure. There's benches inside, all that sort of stuff. But often when you're going to take a shower,
I
right?
know where this is going.
You want a toilet,
You need, yeah.
right?
There's no bathroom.
And there's no, we've run into this time and time again where the showers are far separated from the actual bathroom.
I mean,
And I get it. I don't want a toilet in there too.
Yeah,
Like, I want like a toilet that other people are using in there in this nice clean shower room.
Yeah,
No.
no.
But if I had it to build my way, I would probably build at a place like that, a really high-end resort, a sort of like high-end health club locker room type experience where you enter, you've got your bathrooms on one side, your stalls and everything, and then on the other side you've got individual shower rooms still where you can still go in on your own into the shower rooms.
I just wonder though because there weren't that many showers, and I think it's because they don't really expect RVers and then obviously the people in the cabins to really be using them.
Yeah.
I mean, we did because because we have this little 25-foot travel trailer and a tiny little tank, and we wanted to go in and have unlimited hot water
After a month of boondocking.
Yes.
It was nice to go take some half-hour long showers.
But we were for sure the minority rig
Sure.
in that campground.
Yeah.
Like that, we
were the smallest rig in that campground.
We looked so tiny in that campground compared to everyone else that was there.
Yeah.
So I can see where the idea would be that, they've created these really nice spaces, but we don't necessarily expect that our guests are going to be using them as much as that.
Yeah, but I want to challenge campgrounds to not think that way, because I think a lot of them think, well, we're not going to have nice showers because and it's not even just folks like us in an RV like this. We still have a decent sized shower in here.
Absolutely.
But a lot of like Class B camper vans, they don't. There might be a wet bath situation. Even if they like using it, it's a pain to sort of change it over back and forth and stuff, where you just want to go into a nice shower house. And especially with the rise of Class B camper vans. I mean, they're the hottest selling segment in RVs right now and have been for a few years now. I think bathhouses are becoming more and more important because of that.
It's an excellent point, actually. So, yeah, we can do better with bathhouses, but we can also not have gross toilets in nice places where we want to get clean.
Sure.
All right. What is in your fresh tank this week?
My fresh tank is our electric bikes. We have two electric bikes from Lectric. It's electric without the E. They are one of the top electric bike companies. They're based out of I think Mesa, Arizona, and we have a pair of their X Premium bikes, which might be a little too big for what we need. We probably could have went with their smaller bikes.
Go big or go home, Jay.
But we've got these beasts of bikes that we can sort of get around town in, and we haven't been able to take advantage of them very much, partially because of my broken finger. And partially because of Baja, there was just not a lot of places to take them. It was long distances in a truck,
and the rain
everywhere, and a lot of rain.
Since
we have been here in San Francisco, we have been able to use them extensively. We've been able to take them over to the ferry and then hop on the ferry and head over into downtown San Francisco. There's a wonderful little shopping area right near our campground here that we've gone back and forth to. Abby and I have been going in the mornings to get coffee and take our electric bikes over there. San Francisco has wonderful bike lanes everywhere. We're not actually in the town of San Francisco, but whatever. This whole
we're in Marin County
metropolitan area has a phenomenal bike access, protected bike lanes, bike bridges, and boardwalks and everything. And it has just been so great to be able to hop on our electric bikes and just tool around town and go where we need to be. Because, obviously it can be hard to drive around a big city, especially in a big vehicle. And it's just a great option for access. So
Yeah.
electric bikes.
They've been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed them.
Yeah. All right. What's in your black tank this week?
So my black tank is going to go to a television show that I'm behind the times on, but I watched it when I was flying not only from California here up to Chicago, but then also caught a couple episodes on the flight back from Chicago to San Francisco, which that flight back from Chicago to San Francisco, I don't need to repeat that anytime soon. Night flying is not for me. And then flying into storms is not for me. It's just not for me. But my black tank is going to Apple TV's The Morning Show with a killer cast. I mean, Reese Witherspoon, Steve Carell, Jennifer Aniston, and the show is awful. It's awful. I find no one. I've watched 4 episodes, and I have yet to find one person in this entire ensemble, and it's a big ensemble, lots of characters. I have not found one person that I am rooting for, that I am interested in seeing developed, that I care about, and I really, really don't like it. And so I'm just kind of like, I'm a little bummed
That's
because
funny. Because I haven't seen it, and I had been wanting to see it for a while.
And I kind of thought, given like how much we really liked the newsroom, now I get it. It's no Aaron Sorkin. It's no script. But I kind of thought it's in that same world, that same kind of wheelhouse, and we really like that. And then also just coming from like our own background as not necessarily TV journalists, but as journalists in general, and I thought maybe this would be really interesting. And it is so basic, and it's sort of like, hi, we just took the Matt Lauer story and we turned it into a TV show. And I'm just kind of like, meh, like that's boring. It's boring. It's predictable and safe and lazy. And so I don't like it. So if it's been one of those, because I know there's always this like, you should watch this. It's on Apple TV. Apple TV pushes it all the time. I found nothing interesting in it. I go watch the Great British Bake Off instead.
What's in your fresh tank?
So my fresh tank goes to, as you were talking about how you've been enjoying the electric bikes, I have really been enjoying our new French press. And it's a company that we have worked with in the past, many, many years ago when we used to do our holiday gift guides. And that is BrewTrek, BRUTREK. And I love this French press that we're using. So we have 2, actually. We have the smaller base camp version, which is probably 2 to 4 cups. And then we have their larger French presses. Really,
It's the biggest French press you've ever seen.
but boy, oh boy, does it keep that coffee so hot. And I think if you've listened long enough, you know that like really, really hot coffee is like, it's my jam. Okay, I detest getting coffee.
I like it lukewarm.
I know you do. You want to. It's like you want to drink it like it's lukewarm bath water. I do not understand.
Well, so this is sort of a combination of like, if you imagine like a traditional glass French press, instead it's stainless steel insulated. So it's like,
Yeah.
you make your coffee in it, but then you can keep your coffee in it and keep pouring it, for hours.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And we have 2 of them. If you are looking for something new to put into your rig to take with you, I cannot recommend these enough. I will put them in the links to everything we're using, including their airtight coffee container, which I've been keeping all of our coffee grounds in. Finally, I feel like I found something that's durable, that's truly like airtight. And I don't have to worry, like when we were in Baja, when they kept coming in and they would check, like when we would go through a security checkpoint and sometimes they would want to do an inspection. They would come in and they weren't always the best at making sure the cabinets fully closed. They didn't wait for that extra little push. And so we learned really quick that that was a thing because we had come into the rig afterwards and our cabinets above our sink had been open and my coffee container had fallen and that thing was still sealed. The coffee grounds were fine. And I was like, yeah, this is a keeper.
Thankfully, they closed that back up because they actually did look into the coffee
Yes.
container. I would imagine that's a place where people try to put drugs often. And they
were like, is there going to be coffee in here? Ooh, hazelnut. Okay. They just make a really fun, really good quality product for the outdoors, for being rough and rugged. And they're going to keep that coffee really, really, really hot. And it's also, they're going to do it at a really decent price. So I will put all of those links down there in the description. I do encourage you, if you're looking for something, to go check them out and support.
That's it for this week's episode of the RV Miles podcast.
That's it. We did it. We made it through. Thank you so much for joining us like you do each and every week. We truly, truly value you and appreciate you. If you are liking the podcast, please head over to Apple Podcast and leave RV Miles a 5-star review. As we've said before, just this simple act is putting us in front of an entirely new generation of listeners. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We are close to closing in on 1,200 reviews. That is amazing. Thank you to everyone who's already done it. If you want to learn more about becoming a Mile Marker member and you want to support RV Miles in a new way, beyond the ways that you already do, which we appreciate, you can go and click on the links that will be down in the description. You can become a Mile Marker member on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. You only need to join on one. And that additional support is helping us hire staff, increase our content, revamp our website, and putting together things that you, the RV enthusiasts, have asked for and we know that matter to you. So thank you to those who are already Mile Marker members. All right, until next week, everyone, please stay safe. Please keep your eye on the weather and keep logging those RV miles, but not when it's stormy. No RV miles. Don't move. Stay that rig right where it is. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.